Alrighty. Welcome, MegaMan X fans, Randomizer fans, and of course, Speedrunners Arena fans. This is your boy LV Creed as we got another race of Mega Man X Randomizer. Our next tournament match, which we probably hadn't had a few of those in a few couple of weeks, so it's gonna be a little bit interesting to see how these guys have stacked up. They probably could be a little bit rusty over these past little delays here. But today we got ourselves a losers round 3 match where DarkShadows59 and Vennicus will be heading up against each other to see who's going to be facing against Yo BGS in the losers round 4 tournament. So even though we had a little bit of a delay, we're still getting really close to the end as we're about to wade into our this will be our top 4 coming up after this match is completed. So it's going to be interesting to see where all this comes up as this last of our top 8 winds up ended up. So, as for how these guys got here, DarkShadows59 was doing fairly well in the winners bracket, being unknown availability in Kiwami, but hit a roadblock in Siberian Bull 9, who's heading up in the semifinal spot that's going to be happening later tonight, actually. Meanwhile, we got Vennicus, who actually got done by Yo BGS in the beginning, in the round 1 of the winners brackets, but wound up tearing a path through the losers bracket so far, beating Evil Sparky and Captain Dapper to this matchup right now. If he beats Dark Shadows, he's gonna have a shot at a rematch against Yo BGS coming up in our losers round 4 matchup. So a little bit of interesting backstory here, but he got to beat a very strong Dark Shadows in order to get by him. And like you said, he just came out of winners to this point in the losers bracket. So Dark Shadow can still, well, he may be the odds-on favorite in this matchup, but as usual, this is still a randomizer, so we do not know what's going to be happening in the next couple of moments. So as our runners still get prepped up and the stream winds up getting back to our layout here, let's just talk about what the randomizer actually does in this game. So I will probably say Mega Man X is probably the most diverse of physics randomizers in this particular setting. Because one of the things that still is holding up even up to the later rounds in the bracket, the movements are completely randomized. Every bit of Mega Man X's movement is completely random. The physics are all altered to the better or the worse, depending on what the C gives. So it's all about walking speed, dashing speed, jumping height, dash speed, just pretty much any wall climbing, wall sliding, dash jumps, all that stuff. It is all randomized, which is probably the most notable thing about the Mega Man X randomizer as a whole. But aside from that, we do also have some other randomization traits as well, such as weaknesses, which is total random, which is one of the newer flag sets that has been shown off as of recent. So we don't know what weaknesses are going to be for our given bosses. The stage select is randomized in this flag set as well. We do not know what Maverick we're going to be entering once we get out of the intro stage. We also got weapon attributes that are completely randomized, and they are completely distinctive between left and right. So what you may see firing from the left side may be completely different when you fire from the right side. And of course, the speed and the strengths of the weapons are randomized as well, so we have no idea what's going to be happening. As you can see at the bottom of the screen here, as we're about to get ready for our matchup, which is all best out of 3. Oh, mercy. We got ourselves a Speedy X. So yeah, trying to see, jump height seems to be a little bit low. There's no extra gravity. Gravity is also a situation that you can see when jumping for X. Let's see. But as I was saying, we also have random. Sorry, you can see in the settings below the stream here, you got drunk mode, which pretty much just randomizes all aspects of movement. Ooh, almost got crushed by the B-Blader. When the B-Blader dies, it acts like a completely different platform or like a block or some sort, and it can actually literally crush Mega Man upon defeat. Dark Shadows just narrowly threaded the needle. But yeah, one of the newer additions to this rando flag set is also boss iframes are randomized. They could be really short, allowing you to get multiple hits on Mavericks much more quickly, and this does extend to mini bosses. As Vennicus takes an unfortunate death already in the intro stage, but boss iframes can also be absurdly long. And throughout the tournament where these flag sets have been active, they have been causing some rather annoying issues, especially in the late game with the Sigma bosses. So right now we got Dark Shadows taking care of, well, the Val cutscene. Of course, y'all know that this is all a scripted fight, so you gotta have X at around 3 units of health or lower in order for Val to let you move on through the cutscene. Vennicus not too far behind, but as you can see, where with Vennicus taking the death, he's still kind of trailing behind. So let's see. So coming up to our boss select screen, we go to launch Octopus, but instead we get Chill Penguin. That's what I was talking about with the randomized stage selects. What you see in the screen is not what you're gonna get when you select. So what you're gonna, every time you go into Octopus's window, you'll always go to Chill Penguin, and that will not be the same when you select to Penguin's window. So yeah, an extremely convenient situation here, because one of the things that are also randomized, which has always been the case since the beginning of the tournament, are the light capsules have been randomized in what X armor gets. We're looking for boots. Boots is going to be a required aspect of this particular randomizer, thanks to a particular section in Chameleon, but we'll talk about that later when we get to it. But Dark Shadows is going to be the first to get to our light screen, our first light capsule, and let's see what we get here. Yeah. That is not necessarily what you want to see on your first and easiest light capsule. The helmet is, for the most part, useless. Sure, it may shield you if you ignore the capsule and Chameleon with the falling rocks, and it gives you some health in Armadillo stage, but other than that, helmet is literally useless. So yeah, we're gonna be doing some searching for the remainder of the light armors, but Dark Shadows is still trucking along nicely along the rest of Penguin stage on his way to the boss door, where we're going to see another randomized attribute specific to the bosses. Well, there's two things that are randomized as far as the boss goes. First is the boss room, and we got ourselves a pretty jagged wall set, and the second thing, we got some very weak boss health here. Boss health is also randomized, but climbing looks to be a pain. Dark Shadows is having a little bit of trouble trying to climb up and get to Penguin. This is really, yeah, the struggle is pretty real. But now we got Penguin down. And it looks like single Buster is not doing too much right now. We're gonna check charge. And it whiffs. Gotta hang. Charge, second level charge Buster is not doing too much. This is what Total Random does. Total Random literally assigns different weakness damage values for each and every single weapon value. And also the boss iframes are randomized as well. I mentioned that before. We got some lengthy iframes for Penguin here. So even though Penguin has some really small health, that was a really annoying Penguin to deal with, thanks to these flag sets just making it much longer than it has to be. Did not see which window Dark Shadows go through, but he still wound up being transported to not Chill Penguin, but Launch Octopus. So he's gonna have to deal with Launch Octopus stage with very little items. Launch Octopus stage is one of the stages you would like to find last. Having Octopus this early on, or choosing them thanks to the nature of the random select feature, this could be a decently harrowing experience. But we're gonna see how Dark Shadows takes on this gauntlet of a mini boss set. So okay, if you're gonna use Shotgun Ice, Shotgun Ice is not doing too much, so it's not a strong weakness in this particular set. And we also gotta remember the iframes, the randomized iframes also extend to mini bosses as well. Excuse me while I refresh my stream here and make sure that I'm on pace on where I need to be here. It looks like I thought I saw single buster shots tink on the, or may have been dash shots that tink. I thought I saw limits tink off. It could have been the little eels that were on here, but it really doesn't matter right now, as Dark Shadows does destroy this particular mid boss here as we continue on throughout the rest of Octopus stage. Ignores the cruise. Wait. I was about to say, I thought he was gonna take out the crucializer for the heart tank, but he does not go for the heart tank in Octopus stage since it takes a while. Meanwhile, Vennicus winds up finding Chameleon, which is not bad, but right now we're seeing two things. One, we're seeing that the wall has been blocked off the rest of Chameleon stage. This is why we need the boots. We need the boots to continue on throughout that stage. Otherwise, the stage is incompletable and you need to exit out, which is a good feature, might I add. You can always exit whether you beat in the stage or not. Also, we find that it was a little bit hard for Vennicus to get up to this particular mid-boss part where the light capsule is. This is where physics can be really annoying if it works out against the player's favor. It could have been really hard for Vennicus to get up here, and it looks like he's gonna have to do it again. Dark Shadows taking quick work out of a moderate health Octopus. It seems like Buster seemed to be doing a lot of work on Octopus. Thing wasn't able to get to see how much damage either value of the Buster took, but it still looked like it did quite a bit of damage as Octopus went down extremely quickly. And yes, that was on Penguin's spot. So not Chameleon, but Penguin and Octopus ended up switching spots on the select screen, and we now learn that Flame Mammoth is the area where Chameleon was hiding. We're gonna see how Dark Shadows handles this stage, but he knows he's gonna have to exit out of here if we do not get boots once we defeat our Auto Junior RT55J. And it looks like Buster is not doing so hot. Took a little bit, but it looked like Vennicus was able to get the mid boss down, but we find that the armor upgrade, the vanilla armor upgrade, is in the Chameleon spot. So we cannot continue this stage since, yeah, we got no means to break down those blocks since we still don't have boots. Dark Shadows using the homing torpedo to snipe our mid boss from above. Took a little bit of damage, took a little bit of time, but still managed to beat him and get his armor upgrade, which is actually pretty good. Because these kinds of settings can be really brutal if you go in unarmored. So finding the body armor is actually a pretty decent boon for the randomizer. If there are two armor pieces that you would like to get, it's mostly the armor piece and the foot piece. Finding the X-Buster piece early is nice, but you'll also get the arm upgrade if by the time you beat Val, as Zero gets it to you. So you can always forego the X Buster upgrade. So we find that we go to Kuwanger stage. Once again, I did not see. As you can tell, it's kind of hard to keep track of which Maverick holds what Maverick in the stage select. But right now, all we know is that Vennicus is going through Eagle, while Dark Shadows is going through Kuwanger. And we find that we got a very fast ladder speed, at least vertical climbing speed, going upwards. Not sure about downwards. Downwards could be a separate value as far as movement physics go for ladders. Vennicus taking his time going through the floating platforms, making sure that he doesn't fall. And wisely decides to go for the checkpoint here before checking the light capsule here. The light capsule has been altered in how you actually get to it. There's no above piece that you can go above and just fall straight in. You actually destroy these explosive canisters and go under and have to get it from there. Unfortunately, these jump physics are really nasty, making it a little bit hard for Vennicus to get to the capsule. And we find the X Buster here. Really good to find, but it's not our boots. So that means by process of elimination, we know that our boots are actually in Mammoth stage. But where Mammoth is on the select screen board, we don't know yet. So it could be the very last thing we find. Vennicus taking the death so he can get to the checkpoint faster, which is very heads up. This is why you go for the checkpoint soon, because if you get like bad physics trying to go under to get to the capsule, if you die at that point, the checkpoint will not activate and you got to go through the stage from the very beginning all over again. So that's always a heads up play to know whenever you're going through, at least trying to get the Storm Eagle capsule. Speaking of Storm Eagle, let's see how much health we get from Storm Eagle this seed. Take note that this fight and the rematch will have different health values, so what you see here would not be the same when you face Eagle or any Maverick during the refights. And we got ourselves a beefy Eagle, who is immune to lemons. So right now we are pretty much forced to use charge buster shots in order to whittle down anything of his health here. Meanwhile, we got looks like a relatively average health Kuwanger here. And we got a vanilla weakness here. The tomatoes are doing a pretty good amount of damage on Kuwanger here, as we get our multiple shots from the boomerang cutter, which is a pretty neat glitch that the developer Tokyo Scarer decided to keep, which I'm actually glad he decided to keep. That actually is pretty hilarious. But anyway, we had Kuwanger down on Dark Shadows end, so we're still looking for the boots. And I believe this is 3 Mavericks down on Dark Shadows end. Meanwhile, Vennicus is still struggling on Eagle. It looks like our buster shots are not doing a bit any kind of health over here. So yeah, this is gonna be a fight that you definitely would like to hopefully have some weapons on to make this fight a little faster. We're gonna see how Dark Shadow fares against this particular Eagle. But yeah, we have not seen a lot of heart tank finding over here right now. It seems like the physics is making it really hard for them to go find some of these heart tanks for the time being. Take note that X's starting health is also a randomized attribute. So yeah, for going the Eagle heart tank, we see Vennicus just slowly whittling away Eagle's health. It looks like pink shots are not doing too much. With the stream cutting in and out on Vennicus's end, it's kind of hard to tell how much health either Charge Shot is doing. Okay, so Pink Charge is doing a decent amount of damage, so Pink Shot is a way to go here. And fortunately, Dark Shadows will be getting his X-Buster upgrade very shortly. I did not see if Dark Shadows went for the checkpoint though. If he dies here, that could be very, very nasty. As Vennicus takes on our really buffy Eagle. It was a slow fight, but it was a fight that Vennicus was able to take out. So that's another Maverick to chalk up on Vennicus's end. So in Eagle's spot, we found Mammoth. So we're about to get our boots, everyone. Dark Shadow takes his death. And yes, it is confirmed he did get the midpoint. So heads up play on Dark Shadows as he quickly strolls on his way to the Eagle fight, where he's gonna find not a very happy health bar setting for Eagle. And here Vennicus getting our boots, so now we have access to the completion of Chameleon stage. It also gets a rare sight where we got all the armor pieces for X this seed. So with the dash boots in place, the dash, speed, and distance is all randomized. Vennicus is not messing with it though, because we got ourselves a really good, well, mostly good X movement. It looks like we got some decent dash speed, but the distance looks pretty short. Of course, you'll probably see a little more clearer on Dark Shadows in once we see him get his dash boost as well. Vennicus taking quite a beating getting to Mammoth Room. So let's see. Dark Shadows opted to use weapons since he doesn't know how much health he has and how soon he's gonna be seeing black on Eagles in. Meanwhile, a tornado looked like that was a tornado immune Mammoth. And looked like ice wasn't doing much either. So we got really no weapons to use here to make this fight go faster as far as other weapons go. Taking a nasty hit, but he came in with 1 unit of health, and trying to survive that was gonna be a bit of a tall task for Vennicus. But you also saw another attribute of the random boss rooms. Whenever Mammoth fires out his trunk and tries to change conveyor belts, it can change conveyor belts, but it also has the ability to turn the tiles and floors into lava floors as well. But since we already beaten Chill Penguin stage, the effects of the lava has been nullified since we beat Chill Penguin, so that effect is taking place. Also, just a small note here, since I'm now observing it, the wall sliding is very slow. So we got Armadillo on Dark Shadows in. Again, didn't get to see which Maverick he entered to go to that stage. Could be Vanilla, could be another stage. Could have been Chameleon, who knows? Well, regardless of the matter, we have Vennicus taking out Flame Mammoth. So we're going to see where he goes from here. He could return to Chameleon and finish that stage, or he could just continue just digging around the stage select and see where he can go from there. Well, we go to Mammoth here, and well, that answers my question on where Armadillo was. It was in Mandrill's spot. So we got both runners going to Armadillo stage, but I believe that is 3 Mavericks for Vennicus and 4 for Dark Shadows, as Vennicus opts to get out of Armadillo, finding Spark Mandrill in what I believe is Armadillo's spot. Of course, chat can correct me if I got the stage select incorrect, but yeah, I think this is the exact reason why Vennicus got out of Armadillo stage. He wants to charge Spark so he doesn't have to worry about what Dark Shadows is about to deal with in a moment. Because regardless of the weakness, Electric Spark, unless it's immune, will always take out the armor of Armadillo. Dark Shadows trying to hope that he can jump the gap with his speed, and it's just not quite long enough. The low jump just made it harder for him to make that jump. Dark Shadows using the charge ice, using the sled as extra leverage to get to that heart tank. Because right now, heart tank is very low on supply on both ends. Thanks to X's jump physics, getting some of these heart tanks have been really difficult. Well, it looks like at least the Mandrill heart tank was easy to get, as Vennicus gets that heart tank. It looks like we got a skate park style boss room for Armadillo, excuse me. And we see that Buster does quite a bit of damage. But now, thanks to having no limit in lemon shots, Dark Shadows just opting to just plug away with lemons on them. And since lemons are doing quite a bit of decent damage, it looks like 2 damage, maybe 3 at the most. Meanwhile, we got a slightly altered room for Mandrill, but Ice is doing 2 units of damage, which is still better than 1, by the way. So Vennicus may stick with this, especially since the ice effect, the freezing effect for Mandrill is still in place. Vennicus gotta be careful, he's running low on health here. Meanwhile, Dark Shadows is just literally giving him a taste of citric acid. So much lemons. The lemon diet just... Armadillo's just not enjoying the lemon diet and pretty much explodes from vitamin C overdose. While Vennicus just literally ices Spark Mandrill, and we got ourselves a couple of more Mavericks down on each other's ends. So Vennicus is halfway done with his Mavericks, while this should be Dark Shadow's 5th. So Vennicus opts to return to Armadillo now that he has the Electric Spark to take Armadillo's armor off, while Dark Shadows is finally getting to Mandrill stage where he's about to get his boots. So Dark Shadows about to get his boost right now. Vennicus opts to get the E-tank here, the sub-tank I mean. Actually, I did not catch if Dark Shadows got the sub-tank from here either. He might have issues, because this is the Armadillo sub-tank is one of the easier sub-tanks to get. Probably one of the more recommended ones to get if you have to choose which sub-tanks to try and get. Oh, the dash isn't too bad, but it looks about vanilla-ish. But it's also no faster than just running. So I'm expecting to see the dash used very sparingly. It looks like Dark Shadows is going to take his time to get the sub-tank here, but the jump is just making it a little bit annoying. So yeah, he wisely decides to just ignore the sub-tank here. He probably could have used Charged Ice to get a little extra leverage, like he did in Armadillo, trying to get the heart tank there. But dealing with the enemies, the pickaxe enemies there, just probably would make it more annoying than it needs to be. So I believe this is a heads-up play for DarkShadows to just suck up the loss and just keep moving. Vennicus ends up doing what DarkShadows did in Armadillo, using the ice sled as leverage to get the Armadillo heart tank. And now he won minecart right away to getting to the Armadillo fight. While DarkShadows is about to face Mammoth here, we know that normal Tornado didn't do the job. And neither Storm Tornado is legit useless in this fight. It looks like, yeah, it looks like gonna have a hard time with weaknesses. This is a very weapon weakness immune heavy Mammoth here. And we see Vennicus just taking off the armor with the electric spark and just plugging Armadillo away with lemon. Just like DarkShadows did. And look, we got a fast roller here. Vennicus out to use the sub tank that he got in order to survive the rolling assault that Armadillo's dishing out. Meanwhile, we got DarkShadows taking out Mammoth here, so he's about to go to his next stage. We know that Chameleon's left on DarkShadows then. I think all that is left is Mandrill. So as Mandrill and Chameleon left for DarkShadows, while Vennicus takes a nasty death on Armadillo, setting him a little further back. Charge up Electric Spark again to get rid of the armor. He may need to place himself a little bit better so he doesn't get plugged so well. This is looking nasty with Vennicus. And that is some really lengthy iframes that Armadillo sporting. Making get multiple shots really hard. Actually makes me wonder if having armor, leaving Armadillo's armor on resets the iframe count. Cause DarkShadows was able to take out Armadillo really quickly when his armor was on. Or maybe I might just not misremembering things and the iframes were still the same regardless of Armadillo having armor on or armor off. Something to take note of. So Thunder Slimer's down on DarkShadows then as he makes his way through the second half of Mandrill stage. Vennicus finally finds Kawanger. So we're getting closer and closer to the end of the 8 Mavericks. I know DarkShadows has Chameleon left, but that's his sole Maverick. Vennicus has Chameleon left as well, but yeah, he hasn't fought Octopus yet. So after dealing with Kawanger here, Vennicus still has Octopus and Chameleon left. DarkShadows is on the last stretch of Mandrill stage, about to face Mandrill himself. Doing some smart work with the charge rolling shield, using the force field to just annihilate all the weaker enemies along his path, making it a smooth transition to Mandrill himself. It looks like for now, DarkShadows is also going to stick with Ice as well. While Ice is not doing too much damage, it's still keeping Mandrill in place, thanks to the weakness effect. But the vanilla weakness effect, I should say. Looks like Charged Sled is doing much more damage. So he's using a combination of Charged Sleds and normal ice shots to make this fight go very fast. So this definitely, as far as boss fights times, Dark Shadows definitely extended his lead compared to Vennicus, who struggled a little bit on Mandrill. So Dark Shadows has one Maverick left, as he's now going to return to Chameleon, boots in tow, and going to go through the rest of the stage. Oh boy, that sled speed is amazing. Oh, Vennicus almost had it. It looks like he's going to be committed to try to get this heart tank. He's wasting time, but at this point, heart tank seems to be in rather low supply here. So this might not be a bad idea for Vennicus. One heart tank could be the difference between winning and losing with these low health seeds. Oops! The high speed kind of got Dark Shadow a little bit flustered and wound up accidentally falling down the pit. Looks like he's gonna try again. Hopefully he control his movement a little better this time. There we go. Easy heart tank. So now with the boots, the required boost segment taken care of, now Dark Shadows can finish off the rest of the stage, rest of the convenience stage. So this should be relatively. There should be no sweat for Dark Shadow to finish this stage. Vennicus, on the other hand, is having a little bit of a slow go on this final vertical climb en route to Quanger's boss door. There we go. So it's now Vennicus' turn to take on a moderate, Quanger with some moderate health. Not too bad, but it shouldn't be. Yeah, it shouldn't be too much for Vennicus to handle. He got a decent amount of health. Ooh, but paint shots is not gonna do it. And he finds out that lemons aren't doing it. So he's probably gonna be looking for another weapon. Fire Wave is not doing too much. He's gonna go for Electric Spark. I think he might have already chose to use Rolling Shield before using Fire Wave. Meanwhile, on Dark Shadows Inn, we have a little bit of a weird room, but looks like at least the charge homing torpedo is doing work on Chameleon, while Shotgun Ice is doing the work for Quanger, but Quanger got some really lengthy iframes. So it look like one good shot from a charged torpedo should take out Chameleon, and there we go. That is all 8 Mavericks down in about 38 minutes for Dark Shadows. While Vennicus is just literally getting cut down by Quanger here. So now this is where the Sea can get rather particular, because the Sigma bosses in these sets are no joke. If you get a boss that has either high health or lengthy iframes, even worse if both are happening at the same time, these bosses can be really, really annoying and hard to deal with. So we're gonna hope for good luck on at least on Dark Shadows Inn as he begins his climb towards Sigma 1. Take notes that, of course, since these are refight stages as well, in Quanger in particular, as Dark Shadow takes a nasty fall here. The health values for the 8 Mavericks in the Sigma stages are not going to be the same as the ones you see in the actual first fights. So if you notice Quanger's health in Vennicus' screen, it will not be the same health in the refights when Dark Shadows takes on Quanger later on in this stage. Speaking of Quanger, Vennicus is slowly trickling down Quanger's health bit by bit, doing much better than he did on the first fight. Dark Shadows, on the other hand, thanks to the awkward jump physics, is pretty much giving him quite a beating as he fell to another. Yep, there we go. Fortunately, thanks to the current C settings, you got infinite lives, so taking deaths is not that big of a deal. Unless you start dying and dying and dying, and having the deaths add up will cause some serious issues, as Dark Shadows is starting to experience. Vennicus still got quite a bit of Mavericks to go, but if these deaths keeps on piling up, there can be an improbable comeback coming. These things have happened before. So we need to keep an eye out on how many deaths Dark Shadows have as these Sigma stages continue to progress. But looks like he finally got a good handle on these platforms. There we go. So now he's finally entered the inner sanctum of Sigma's fortress, where in a little bit we're gonna have ourselves our rivalry fight. Well, a proper Val fight. We're not gonna count that cutscene as an official fight in intro stage. I'm expecting Dark Shadows not to try. Yeah, with the physics we got, the Val cutscene is really unviable. So yeah, for the first part, the Val fight is just like the cutscene fight in the very first Val fight. Get to a low amount of health and then get caught, stunned, and let the cutscene progress. What's about to happen that is we're gonna actually fight Val for real, and he's subject to the same boss situations as everyone else. So we don't know what kind of iframes he's gonna have, and we don't know how much health he's gonna get, nor what weakness he's gonna be exploited by. So Val can be a surprisingly difficult boss if the sea forces some really high values on him. So we're about to see why he's gonna get in a few seconds, as soon as the stream actually gets there. Meanwhile, Vennicus is, struggling on this second mid boss. Takes another death, as you're gonna have to try it again. So it looks like we got some slightly vanilla-ish health, probably a little higher than average. Torpedoes look to be doing some decent work here, but it looks like it's just vanilla. Well, uncharged torpedoes. The charged torpedoes are not doing much at all. And it looks like he got some. Well, it's kind of hard to tell with the resolution I'm watching it right now, so I really can't tell if his iframes are long or short. But since in vanilla, Val has relatively short iframes, I would say that these are much lengthier iframes than normal compared to a vanilla Val fight. Regardless, that is Val down on Dark Shadows in. So now we get to see the rest of Sigma 1. So in a few moments, you're going to see how much health in iframes that Quanger has. Vennicus taking on the Cruiserizer. He's going to go for the heart tank here as well. This heart tank is out of the way, and you're going to have to fight another mid boss in order to get to that heart tank. And even before he gets to it, he dies by the spikes. Yet again, the physics screwing him up. Dark Shadows doing the vertical climb on his way to the Quanger fight, but he's low on health. That small health helping him out a little bit as we see who Quanger's gonna be right now. What kind of Quanger we're gonna get? Who is this Quanger? This is a wimpy Quanger who probably does not lift. It takes immense damage from the uncharged torpedoes. Dark Shadows gotta watch his health, but the midpoint should be immediately after the Quanger fight, so this should not be a costly death in the slightest. Oh, never mind, I'm wrong. Completely 100% wrong. That is not good. To be fair, these are situations, even in vanilla, that you really don't see very often. Dying after Quanger fight, since the stretch towards Bow Spider is actually relatively easy, but thanks to these total random settings, messing with the weaknesses, it made the final stretch, especially at that low health, much harder than it should have been for Dark Shadows. Meanwhile, Vennicus is in. We have him taking out Octopus, and he's one Maverick away from reaching the Sigma stages. If Dark Shadows keeps getting pinned up in Sigma 1, Vennicus can end up catching up, so Vennicus slowly but surely gaining ground on Dark Shadows. Yeah, Dark Shadows is getting literally hung up Sigma 1. First it was the platform section trying to get on floating platform by floating platform thanks to these really awkward jump physics, and now the weapons are not doing really good on these stages. In this vertical section here, these are not good weapons here. And does he? Yep, he's got to refight Quanger again. But fortunately, the homing torpedo is still strong on him. But Dark Shadow's in the same situation that he was on just a few moments ago after he beat Quanger. No health on this final stretch, where weapons just does not seem to work well. And now he's gonna have to just take it at a snail's pace, just hopefully to get a drop at some point. Well, he's using the charged rolling shield, but still not getting any life drops. But looks like the rolling shield is doing considerable amount of damage to every single enemy in this stage, so it looks like she's gonna farm here. Meanwhile, Vennicus is on Chameleon, so once he's done with Chameleon, he's gonna be right on Dark Shadow's heels. And the drops are not being very friendly to Dark Shadow. There we go, there's a big drop. There was another big drop, but Dark Shadows spawned it off screen. Deciding that Dark Shadow had enough grinding, he goes to Bow Spider, who has not a lot of health. And Charge Ice is doing quite a bit of damage. So this is going to be a very quick fight on Dark Shadow's end. As slowly yet surely, being battered and bruised, he does finish out Bow Spider and is out of Siggy 1 and is going to eventually go to Sigma 2. While Vennicus is kind of struggling dealing with Quanger here. Quanger having a pretty lengthy iframes in this regard. Of course, he can always get out of iframes if he decides to teleport. The teleport actually resets Quanger's iframes as soon as he gets out of his teleport. Anyway, Dark Shadow's taking another death here. The physics yet again making sport of Dark Shadows, as Dark Shadows is just fumbling across these small platform areas. Using the charged Chameleon sting to try to safely navigate these platforms. Gonna have to be careful. Thanks to the total random seed, these Chameleon stings could be very, very important. Oh, we got ourselves a turkey of a penguin. 1 unit of health. Was immune to Fire Wave though, but still 1 unit of health. All he just did was just switch weapons and just one-shots him, literally. Meanwhile, Vennicus is now finally finished with Quanger, and now all his 8 Mavericks are done. So Dark Shadows has about a stage and a third lead, I would like to say, on Vennicus, as Vennicus now begins his assault on the Sigma Fortress. Vennicus can gain a little bit of ground on Dark Shadows if he plays a clean Sigma 1, well, a relatively cleaner Sigma 1. But with these overall physics, it could be really hard for Vennicus to try to keep going with it. Meanwhile, we got a relatively average health Eagle, far acquired from his beefy fight in the first match. Looks like we got ourselves a dive boy as well. RNG not being particularly kind to Dark Shadows here. Vennicus taking a nasty dip into the pitfall. This is exactly what Dark Shadows had to go through, trying to get to the front door of Sigma's fortress. And that's Eagle down on Dark Shadows end. So he's on his way to the ring to fight. Thanks to Total Random, the amount of health separated between the eyes and the nose are separate from each other. So you can have one-shot eyes for either case, or even a one-shot nose, which could permanently lock the walls. But of course, you also need to worry about the health values in the iframes of each and every segment of Ranga. It looks like, well, no uncharged torpedoes do the job. And that, oh, I thought that was a one-shot eyeball. Well, it looks like the homing torpedo is the weapon of choice for this fight, or at least a weapon of choice. And for Total Random, where weaknesses are random, I would like to say that homing torpedo is very important, especially if it's a weakness. It's very low effort to use, and it will home in on your opponent every time. So having homing torpedo as soon as possible and having it as a weakness is a very big boon in these kinds of settings. Meanwhile, Vennicus is on his way to the Vault fight. He had a much easier time getting to this point than Dark Shadows did. So that's a little bit of ground he caught on Dark Shadows. But Dark Shadows is still going to be about a stage ahead as he finishes off Rangda. So Dark Shadows is going to be off to Sigma 3, where Sigma 3 can be a really nasty gauntlet if the health and iframe seeds wind up being ruthless towards him. So we're about to find out what's going to happen in the Armadillo, Chameleon, Mandrill, Octopus, Mammoth, and of course the D-Rex. Dark Shadow looked like he was trying to go for the Armadillo skip, but unfortunately he locked the screen into place. And those are some vanilla health values for Armadillo here. Last time Dark Shadows decided to pin Armadillo with lemons, but looks like she's gonna stick with Electric Spark for this fight. Meanwhile, Vennicus takes a nasty little death on Val here, so that's gonna set him back. Armadillo's massive iframes getting him more shots to take on Dark Shadows here, but Dark Shadows is able to outlast Armadillo, and he's about to go straight into the Chameleon fight in a little bit. Vennicus opting to use the pea shooter for a while. It's doing quite a bit of damage, but yet again, it's the lengthy iframes that is making this a little more tedious. Not to mention some shots being slowed down. Chameleon looked like he's having a little bit less health than his first fight, so this should be a relatively more simple Chameleon fight, or at least a shorter one. And now goes Chameleon on Dark Shadow's end, while Vennicus defeats Val on his end. Still got a ways to go. So got Dark Shadows about to take on the Mandrill fight, getting the ice in tow. Him knowing that charged ice sled wound up doing wonders on him. And because of that, literally one sled and he's dead. Well, actually probably would have taken 2 shots with the vanilla ice shot, well, the uncharged shotgun ice. So we got Dark Shadow. We got Electric Immune Pufferfish. Dark Shadows go for the health here before going to Octopus, getting stalled by the pufferfish. And if the string catches up, well, looks like it didn't even matter. Octopus was a weak boy to begin with, so it was literally a blink and miss it moment. So I got one more Mammoth to go before D-Rex, and it is Mammoth. And Mammoth, of all of the stages in this stretch, Mammoth is the only one that has a massive and more dangerous redesign in this stage. Whenever Banjo changes the conveyor belt, you saw in his first fight, he's able to spawn. Well, there you have it. Well played, Mammoth. Well played. So instead of lava towels, you get instant death spike towels. And yeah, MegaMan and spikes do not go together well. So naturally, X dies. Which makes the Mammoth fight much more dangerous. But fortunately, the health values is not that bad, but I'm still can't quite tell. Oh, nope, never mind. That's some pretty decently long iframes here. But look like Kamiya's thing is the way to go in this fight. And not being able to shoot off his trunk again, Mammoth was not able to summon spikes again, as Vennicus takes another nasty death, getting out of Sigma 1 and starting off Sigma 2. So, what are we going to have for D-Rex? Looks like some more relatively average health values. And he's deciding to use Charge Cutter to do the work. But it's not killing him quickly enough. It looks like D-Rex has some relatively decent iframes here. And Uncharged Spark isn't doing the job. There we go. The last bit of Electric Spark taking out D-Rex, as Dark Shadows is making his way to the final Sigma stage, where he's about to go into probably the roughest boss gauntlet. Because you do not want any of these final 3 bosses to have high health or lengthy iframe. Velgarder, Sigma, and Wolf Sigma are really treacherous to deal with randomized values, especially if they're high values. If they're low values, which you're going to be hoping for, just like in Penguin's case here, as Vennicus takes him out, you do not want these values. I know a few racers that had some really high Wolf Sigma health and some lengthy iframes, and I can tell you they were not pleased with those kinds of health values. So here's to hoping, at least in Dark Shadow's case, since he's on his way, that these 3 bosses are going to be pretty kind. But looks like for the time being, he's going to be doing some farming for his sub-tanks here, which is a wise decision, especially with this wall cling being really slow. You manage to get a lot of health potentially quickly. It's better if his wall slide was static, but in this case, a very slow one is just as good. Alright, so we got Dark Shadows into the first area of the Sigma fight in the boss room. Let's see how strong Pupper is. Is he gonna be a Chihuahua, or is he gonna be a Rottweiler? I'm gonna say that's the neighborhood of maybe a boxer. Regardless, it looked like Homie Torpedo did the job in this fight. Let's see what Jedi Sigma has in store. A little bit stronger than Velgarder, but we still don't know how lengthy his iframes are. It looks like we got ourselves a vanilla weakness here. Electric Spark doing quite a business on him. And the iframes look relatively average. Now, those are slightly higher than average iframes. But one more shot with Electric Spark, and down goes the Jedi. This guy will not be the last Jedi, obviously speaking. But here we go. Will Simmons' health is fine, but what about the iframe? The longer the iframes are, the more chances he has in popping Dark Shadows out with lightning strikes and claw grabs. So this still plays a very important role. Of course, with the current frame rate, it's really hard to tell if it's lengthy or small. Meanwhile, we got Vennicus taking out Rando. He's on his way to Sec 3. From the looks of things, since Dark Shadows is not plugging away with rolling shields, it looks like we got ourselves a pretty lengthy set of iframes for Wolf Sigma. So this could be a real dangerous fight on Dark Shadows then. He cannot take too many hits. Even with the armor equipped, he's still... Wolf Sigma still hits like a truck, and he still has low health, but looks like he's on his way to victory in a little bit. As soon as this stream catches up, there we go. Down goes Wolf Sigma his end. GG to... forgive me, GG to Dark Shadow as he finishes with official race time, first place of 56 minutes and 29 seconds. Very good job for Dark Shadows as Vennicus is still trying to take on Sigma 3. And yes, it has been confirmed that Vennicus has decided to forfeit from the race. So with that, GG to Vennicus for trying to continue on. But it seemed like some of the early game wound up taking him out. The physics were kind of rough for him. Yeah, I would like to say it was mostly the physics and the relatively low starting health that kind of put Vennicus off balance in the early goings, while Dark Shadows being a rather lengthy veteran of the MegaMan X Rando was able to just adapt a little bit more. Even though he had some issues in Sigma 1, he was still able to get the rest of the Sigma stages done and was able to finish in a relatively brisk fashion. So of course this is the best out of 3, and we are doing the full sets this evening. So we are going to be doing all potentially 3 games. Whether it's going to be all 3 or not, it's going to be depending on if Vennicus can get back in it and steal another one from Dark Shadows, which from what I'm seeing is going to be a pretty tall task. But remember, as with other randomizers, it's still a randomizer. So it's all going to be up to the seed to determine what's going to be happening here. Excuse me. But of course, with SRA usually taking down streams and to preserve for VOD archiving moments, I think it's going to be time for us to just take a little bit of a brief break here as they get things archived and while the races get settled. So while things get settled, we'll be back in a brief moment. So until then, see you in race 2.